Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Mainly Hoops podcast, where we're covering some more Big 12 transfer portal news. We've got Arizona State for this episode. Arizona State made a lot of changes. They lost 10 guys, they added quite a few. Who are we most excited to see in a Sun Devil uniform this year?
I think there are two guys I'm pretty excited to see, I guess. Marcus Adams Jr. coming over from Cal State Northridge, and then Mo Odom coming over from Pepperdine. Mo Odom had a pretty nice tournament, if I remember correctly, in the West Coast Conference tournament. I think he led Pepperdine to would they win 1 or 2 games, but hung around.
I think they won 3.
Yeah. I forget, but I know that he was obviously a big reason why. They went pretty deep.
They went to the semis, I think, because they beat Oregon State and Santa Clara, if I remember right.
Yeah. I mean, he had a big stretch there. Obviously big time player, big time, he had big moments there in against some pretty good teams. And then Marcus Adams Jr., pretty efficient scorer, averaged 16, 5 boards last year, 6'8" forward, shot the ball well from 3, almost 40% from 3, over 50% from the field. I think that obviously, as Nate alluded to here, Arizona State did a lot. There's basically nobody back from the existing roster that they had last year. They've got a whole new roster. It seemed like even as the season was wearing on last year, there was a whole new roster. I remember at one point, Cody, you were talking about, what was that guy's name that all of a sudden just Trevor Best, right?
Oh, Trevor Best. Yeah, he might actually play a role in this team this year.
Yeah, he wasn't he like a walk-on, or had never even played, and
walk-on had never played a minute, and they threw him in the mix when they only had 6 available players. He came in and dropped 15 points, looked like their best player on the floor. I think it was against BYU. They got smoked, but he brought a ton of energy, and why wouldn't you as a walk-on in that situation?
Yeah, no doubt. I think, but to Nate's question, I think Mo Odom, Marcus Adams Jr. are probably the two guys that I'm most excited to watch in a Sun Devil uniform.
Cody, do you have the same two, or do you have something different that you kind of have your eye on?
I think for overall impact wise, I do think Odom and Marcus Adams Jr. are going to provide the most. I guess starting with Mo Odom, he's going to be the primary creator with this team. He made a big efficiency leap from 2 years ago to this past season, and I think a lot of it is probably from the coaching situation he was in before. He wasn't in the greatest situation. New coach came in last season and had things sort of figured out, their best season overall. But he's going to be a pick and roll oriented point guard. He really knows how to operate in pick and roll. He's in the 94th percentile in frequency in pick and roll, and the 85th percentile in efficiency as a pick and roll handler. So he's a slight frame, doesn't really defend all that well just because of his slight frame. It kind of limits him. He's can be somewhat of a defensive playmaker, but overall, I think he's going to provide a decent impact at the Big 12 level. I think pressure can bother him a little bit. I think when teams like high hedge or blitz him and pick and roll, I think he'll have some trouble. But he showed in the WTC tournament that he can murder drop coverage. Basically, every team played drop coverage at that tournament. He got whatever he wanted. He's a good mid-range shot creator and a really good playmaker for others. And I think that's kind of where Marcus Adams slides in. I think he's the best connector piece on this team. He could get thrown on a lot of different rosters and have success as a catch and shoot guy, and more of a secondary creator. He's probably going to be the third option on this team behind Odom, and then Holloman. He's a perimeter shot creator as well, and Alan David Mukeba, who they can work through in the post. But I think Adams is going to kind of be the guy that connects everything and can capitalize on open 3-point opportunities when guys like Holloman and Mo are creating advantages against the defense.
Do we think Odom, Adams, and company, do we think they fit well, or do we not think they fit well with the Arizona State system? Marcus, what do you think?
And I'm going to speak to one player that Cody just mentioned. We hadn't mentioned him yet, Mukeba. I'll be interested to see how he fits. To Cody's point, like they played through him in the post. He's listed at only 6'6". He has a big body, 250. But I'll be curious to see what level of success he has in the Big 12 versus, the MAC, right? Where, he averaged 15 points, but he was 0% from three. Did he even take one last year? He took 1 3 the whole season, right? He relies obviously heavily on scoring inside the paint, scoring inside the arc. Will he be able to do that at the same level? I would be surprised if he did, but obviously he's been that size and has figured out how to use his body. Being 250 pounds, that's a good frame for a 6'6" guy. The other guys, I think Mo Odom can have success, and like Cody said, I think Marcus Adams Jr. Is definitely capable of having success. The efficiency he's able to score with. I think he could be, like Cody said, successful in a lot of places.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Hurley brought talent in, and I do like some of the players individually. I don't think they fit together at all, and maybe they fit the system. I don't even know what Bobby Hurley's system is. I mean, it's just bring in talent and kind of let them go out there and showcase it. Mo Odom and Adante Holloman cannot be on the floor at the same time. Neither one of them weigh over 170 pounds. They can both only guard once. They bring nothing to the defensive side of the ball. So, I mean, and then you don't really have any like elite defensive pieces on the wing. Depends on what the Montenegrin transfer Gerbovic brings to the table. I haven't watched anything on him. 6'10", power forward, sort of lanky. I don't really know what he brings just yet. And I also don't really love how Ala Mukeba translates. They're not really going to be able to work through him in the post consistently. I know he's 6'6" and 250 pounds is like, it's obviously going to be tough to handle, but when you're playing Big 12 physicality night in and night out, I struggle to see how he's going to be able to have any sort of post-up efficiency, because that's kind of one of the only areas that he excels in is in the post, maybe a little bit of isolation from the top of the key. And there's no real playmaking ability. He's not really going to be able to draw to against a Big 12 center who is more athletic than him and can probably hold his own physically. So I don't really like how he translates all that much. And then defensively, it doesn't really work out with this group in general. Offensively, I think it'll be fine. I think Holloman and Odom, if they're on the floor at the same time for small spurts, I think they can work together. I mean, Odom's going to be the primary creator. Holloman can play off the ball as much as he was on the ball at Georgia Southern, being more of a scoring-minded two guard, I guess. I mean, he played a lot of point guard at Georgia Southern, but his off-ball shooting ability will allow those two guys to play together. But like I said, they can't be on the floor for any more than 4 or 5 minutes at a time, or else they're going to get eaten alive on the defensive end.
Mm-hmm. What are the expectations for this team?
Bottom of the Big 12
team or no?
Not high.
I think they're the worst. I think they're the worst team in the Big 12 at this point in time. Sure, they have a lot of talent. I think Colorado is better than them at this point. I think Colorado has a much higher floor, mostly just because I'm higher on Hargreaves. But I just don't think you can bring in a bunch of guys with on-ball talent and the lack of physical traits on the defensive end and expect it to all work out. I mean, it didn't work out last season. I mean, Hurley kind of did a similar thing, but he had more rim protection last year with Quaintance and Sean Phillips, and Amir Ali was a lankier forward, and Sannon, I mean, longer, Jihad, guys like that. But this roster from a defensive standpoint is way worse than last season, and I think the floor is extremely low.
Marcus, do you have similar thoughts? What are you thinking?
Yeah, they're not going to be very good. I mean, I think it's going to be another they were 4-16 in the league last year. I think they struggle again. To Cody's point, like they're a bottom 2 team in this league.
There's even questions about Odom and Holloman translating. Like, I don't know if that's even a given at this point.
Yeah. A lot of changes for the Sun Devils. Anything else we want to add, or move on?
I've said my piece, I think.
I've had my fix of the Sun Devils.
All right. Well, as always, thank you everyone for listening to the Mainly Hoops podcast, and we'll be back with some more Big 12.